Welcome to Retirement, your third act, the podcast for those navigating the transition from work to what comes next. Whether you're planning for retirement or already there, you're not alone. This is a time of change, excitement, and sometimes uncertainty, but it's also a time of opportunity. Hosted by Peter Watts, this podcast brings you real stories from people on the same journey, sharing their challenges, successes, and lessons learned. So, sit back, listen in, and find reassurance, inspiration, and ideas for your own third act. So let's get started. Over to your host, Peter.
Today's episode is all about what happens when you step away from a lifelong career but still want to stay engaged and purposeful. My guest Jullian Marshall James knows this journey well. After a lifetime with Lloyds Banking Group, he found himself at a crossroads when the opportunity for redundancy came knocking. For some, it might have been the perfect time to step away, and for others, it could have been the worst possible time. But Jullian took a different approach. He took his time, reflected, and built a plan A and plan B and maybe plan C's and D's that worked for him and his family. Now, as chairman of North Perrott Cricket Club, husband, father and grandfather, and someone who started his own consultancy business, he's finding balance in life after full-time work. Today, we're going to hear about his transition, what he's learned, and what advice he has for others looking to step into his phase of life with confidence. Jullian, welcome.
Morning, Pete.
Thank you for coming along. So that, Jules, before we kind of go through your kind of start, middle and end of your Act 3, retirement in 3 words. Could you sum it up for me, what retirement means for you?
Yeah. Liberating.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. So what I mean by that is I get the Friday night feeling every day.
Oh, wow.
So
wow.
Yeah.
Not the Sunday night feeling when you're planning for work.
No. So it's liberating, definitely liberating. It's fulfilling. And it's fulfilling because I get to do the things I want to do.
Okay. Yeah.
And I find that incredibly fulfilling.
That's nice.
And it's fluid. Strange word, I know. But it's fluid because I get to do what I want to do, and it's different every day.
Yeah, I get that.
So that's sort of probably why it's fulfilling.
Yeah, I get that.
So liberating, fulfilling,
Fluid.
Yeah.
I really like that because first time hearing those kind of words, it feels that it's not like the final act. It's not like the final destination you've reached, and this is it. This is my structure. It's living every moment as it comes, I suppose, and being flexible and having the freedom to do the things you want to do.
Yeah. I think the best way of describing it, Pete, actually in a phrase, is I'm swinging with the punches, if you like.
Okay. Hopefully there's not too many punches coming your way,
not physically, but metaphorically, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. That's really good to hear. Really, 3 really good words. Okay, so I have been, I don't want to say struggling, but knowing your story as I do, what I would title this episode as, because, is it semi-retirement? Are you navigating semi-retirement? And for me, I just wanted to check in with what you see this stage of your life is. What are you calling it?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I think the best way to describe it is me time. Me time or family time, I guess.
Yeah.
It's the best way I describe it.
Nice. Good. Yeah.
And I'm sure, as we'll find out in this episode, that's sort of one of my motivations to go left, not right, that crossroads you talked about.
Yeah, okay. We'll most definitely be covering that more in a minute. So let's rewind the clocks right back to your banking career, or your work career, because I know your story, but others don't. But just tell me about your story, your career with Lloyds Banking Group, the things you did there, your roles, and also, and keep it brief.
I was going to say, how long have you got?
Yeah, and the kind of things that you loved,
Yeah. So, potted history of my career. So I worked for Lloyds Banking Group for 35 years.
Wow. Okay.
I started in Somerton as a waste clerk. So basically that was sorting checks.
Yeah, cool.
Alphabetically.
Remember them
checks?
checks? Yeah, remember
them. Which in itself was enjoyable, starting work. I then went up through all the grades, got into management, managed some some big branches locally, Chard, Yeovil, Exeter, to name a few.
Yeah, wow.
Got promoted eventually. Started managing groups of branches, so I was a local director.
Okay.
That took me a little bit further away from home, so I was across counties like Devon, Dorset, Wiltshire, Hampshire, well as Somerset, which is where I live.
Yeah.
And then for the last 7 years of that 35 years, I ended up in the managing director's office and finished my career as head of operations.
Right, okay.
For all three community banks. So, yeah,
all
enjoyable
three
time.
Community banks?
Lloyds Banking Group has three community banks. So
Okay.
you've got Lloyds Bank, you've got Halifax, and
yeah.
you've got Bank of Scotland.
Wow,
So
okay.
I was
Yeah.
head of operations for those three banks. I guess throughout that time, to answer your question, or second part of your question, the bit I enjoyed most, I guess, was building successful teams and working with those successful teams.
Okay.
And within that, sort of helping the people that I was working with, like you, historically.
Yeah.
And our customers, achieve the things they want to achieve in life. That's sort of what gave me the buzz.
Nice to think that I was in a part of your successful teams. That's
100%.
for sure. So for those that don't know, Jullian is my best friend. He saved my life. We travel together. We enjoy lots of downtime with each other. But actually, even though we are the best of friends, us as men aren't great at talking about retirement and what that may look like. So actually, I'm really interested to hear about your journey. Now, the podcast is all about retirement, your third act. So the first act is being young and learning and, growing as a child through to adulthood. And then the second act is around your working life, which, let's be honest, takes up a long time of our lives. And then this third act is about, from your point of view, it's me time. And I really love hearing that. So there's most definitely from your story a different journey that you were on that maybe others weren't, or that maybe people will experience. And that's around redundancy that was potentially on the books, moving towards kind of your plan to have more time for you and the family. So would you just mind sharing a little bit about what that journey looked like for you in terms of your thoughts process?
So if I start at the beginning, when I started work, I didn't naturally want to be in banking, if I'm being completely honest. But what I liked about it was the interaction with people, with customers. I loved helping customers. But what drove me right the way through, I thought to myself, if I'm going to go to work, I want to earn as much money as I can in the X number of hours per day that I'm going to work.
Yeah, okay.
So my mentality was always, what's next? What's next?
Right.
What's next? What's next? Unfortunately, when you get in that situation of being driven to achieving what's next, you get yourself in a situation where I got into, which was I was in some roles where I enjoyed 50% of the role, but not the other 50%.
Right, okay.
And that puts an awful lot of stress
and
and anxiety on me anyway, as an individual. Traveling all over the country in my latter roles, it's quite tiring. You put all of your own personal desires, health, fitness, they all go on the back burner. Time with family.
Sure. Engulfs you almost.
It does. It engulfs you. So for me, I was really clear, again, from the outset, not only did I want to earn more money, but I wanted to retire at 55 if I could, or earlier if possible. So right the way through my career, I always had my plan A, which was that.
Yeah.
But likewise, concurrently running alongside it, I had my plan B. And my plan B was really, with banking and financial services continually changing, it was always a possibility that I could be, shown the door, made redundant at any time, as we've again seen lately. So I always had that plan A and plan B. As I said, plan A was to retire at 55. So that's what I was aiming for. And I've always been an accumulator. I like to accumulate money. I was very, very, very careful, very astute. I had some great advice from my independent financial advisor, as you know. And I think we worked well together to build a plan.
Yeah.
And I said initially that plan was to retire at 55. And thankfully, I was able to materialise that a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
As you called out earlier, redundancy came knocking. I had the opportunity for voluntary redundancy.
Yeah.
There was a couple of times actually I probably could have put my name forward for voluntary redundancy, but the finances weren't quite right.
Sure. Yeah. Okay.
But I always knew, because I was in the know, that there'd be another one coming around the corner. So,
and those kind of plans that we discussed, that help kind of understand what your number was to be able to then facilitate that retirement. Do you know what I mean? So you needed to kind of know your number to go, okay, I'm not going to put my name forward this time, but because I'm not there yet, or it would put maybe unnecessary pressure on.
No,
everybody.
Absolutely. It helped me with that. I think the bit that was always in my mind was probably two bits, actually. The first bit was, with the modelling and the forecasting we did around what I'd get in retirement.
Yeah.
I had the reassurance that I know I could do that at 55.
Yeah.
So for me, that was step one. It was knowing that actually when I get to 55, everything's going to be okay.
Yeah.
I'll be all right.
Yeah.
And that was a relief.
Yeah.
Number one, knowing I could do that. I guess the second point really for me was I needed to get close enough either to say, do you know what, I'm going. I need to have enough money to be able to put my hand up and just walk.
Sure.
But as I said, in my situation, I was very lucky in that voluntary severance was an option.
Sure.
I took it with both hands.
Yeah.
They gave me 2 years' money.
Yeah.
So I immediately had, the ability to be able to get to 55 to then realise my plan A, as it was.
Brilliant. And I most definitely want to investigate that and look at that a little bit closer around the, 2 years, what did that look like? Because I know we've had numerous conversations around how do we budget, how do we set things up. We don't need to go into too much detail, but I'll come on to that. Before we do, I would love for you to kind of talk about your experience with using, and I don't know what their title would be, but like a consultant that provides advice and guidance for when you, I don't even know what they are, but I've never heard of that before. I've never seen it before. And I was really taken aback when you were telling me about the conversations you were having, the high level conversations you were having, and the direction that you were able to go in after the roles that you've been successful at. So would you just mind talking a little bit about that for a minute? Is that okay?
Of course. Again, I have to say, Lloyds Banking Group as an employer was fantastic.
Yeah,
again,
good.
You would have experienced that when you were there many years
really
ago.
Supportive.
But one of the things they do when they're either making compulsory, and obviously they try and avoid compulsory redundancies, but when they're making any sort of redundancies voluntary as well, you get a support package.
Yeah.
Mine was for 9 months. And that involves access to, CV writing.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
CV writing. And again, for someone who hasn't really written a CV for a long time, because I just got given the jobs. It was helpful.
Yeah.
So CV writing, again, access to, if you were being made redundant as opposed to taking voluntary severance, then you had access to, different job markets.
Yeah, okay.
Like Department of Social Security, they did a session with us. And,
wow, okay.
And I went along just to keep open-minded.
Yeah.
But the biggest part of it for me that you've just called out was the ability to use a consultant. They're a bit more like a coach or mentor. And depending on what you were looking to do post your banking career, you'd get assigned a particular expert.
Okay.
Well, as you know, as I've called out, my reason for leaving was to spend more time with family. So I didn't really have a longer term view of what was next for me.
Yeah.
But others maybe want to be self-employed.
Sure.
They get someone who's an expert in that, for example. But mine was, more a generalist.
Yeah.
And he was brilliant. I had 7 hours of sessions.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Across the 9 months I got supported because I wasn't really clear on what I wanted, or if I was sure I wanted to do anything. He broke that down for me into half-hour sessions. So he was very supportive, very helpful. And I guess it helped me being able to share my thoughts, however stupid, with someone that actually didn't really know me.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
You know, I'm not being judged. I'm not going to see this guy again.
Yes.
Other than next month.
Yeah.
Or the next time I booked it in. But that was really helpful.
I suppose he came from a permission because he didn't know you. He could challenge where challenge was
Yeah,
due
100%.
or guide you rather than kind of going, oh, I know what you like, what your likes and dislikes are. Actually, every possible thing was presented. Yeah, okay.
And he worked me through, you know, there's a number of scenarios I had in my head around what I was going to do.
Yeah.
Or what I thought I might drift into.
Okay.
And, you know, he helped me. He facilitated me doing it myself, crossing those 8.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, whatever roles they might have been. And we ended up getting a set of red lines, basically.
Right.
That the job had to be this, this, or this.
Okay.
If it wasn't, I wasn't interested.
Wow. Okay.
And actually, I turned a job down
Yeah.
that I went for because of those red lines.
Okay. Okay. Wow. Okay. That's good. Yeah.
So,
Well, maybe if you hadn't have had that conversation, it could have been something you'd maybe have taken up, or were you quite good to stick into your tracks, so to speak?
no, I was really good. So the job was business development. It was advertised as between 1 and 2 days.
Right. Okay.
One of my red lines was I didn't want to be
commit
fixed, and I didn't want to have a full-time job. Otherwise, I'd just as well stay doing what I was doing. But got through the interview. They said they really liked me, and then he offered me the job full-time because they changed the parameters.
Right. Okay.
And I'm like, no, I don't.
You stuck to your guns.
I don't want the job
Yeah,
full-time.
that's brilliant. Okay, that's really good.
And I reflect on that as being a good decision. You know, I didn't, with the financial plan I'd made, I didn't need to work.
No.
But I guess I was just trying to find a little bit of purpose.
Yeah.
And that really helped me think about, with the consultant's support, talking it through with him, really helped me think about actually, what do I really want to do?
Yeah.
And reminded me of the advice I used to give my team, individuals in my team.
Yeah.
You know, do more of what you like.
Yeah, that's so important. It's without a doubt. Can we just swing around back to finances, I suppose, and not necessarily financial plan being incredibly structured, but for a lot of people, 2 years, money, budgeting, important to spend time with our loved ones, our family, our friends. What structure, what was your? I keep using the word journey, but what things did you trial? What things did you trial and error in terms of how you help budgeting? Going from being employed full time, pay slip comes in, money goes into the bank, to all of a sudden, hang on, I'm not working at all. There's a chunk of money there that I need. I want to last. I know that was something that we and I spoke about at length. But what kind of things? How did you kind of go through those motions?
Yeah, it was a really big one for me. As I mentioned earlier on in our discussion, I'm an accumulator.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was quite trippy, if I can use that word, from going from an accumulator to a spender.
Yeah. Okay.
It was very foreign to me.
Yeah.
So I had to find a very unique way around dealing with that. And that unique way was to get Michelle, my wife, to actually handle all of the money.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
So that's something, as you'll know, is quite unusual.
Yeah. Yeah.
In my relationship, she just left it to me, used a card, beep, beep.
Yeah.
But no, she took it on with good grace.
Okay.
We agreed, what we could live on socially. She's still working, so that pays all the bills.
Yeah.
And I haven't looked back since.
And did that take away the spending, watching capital reduce kind of anxiety that you may have come across, and therefore you were just
100% it did.
Right, okay.
Because in essence, how we set it up, I put all the money into her name.
Yeah.
And she goes in every week.
Yeah.
And transfers a set amount to our social account, which is what we spend, and we pay ourselves weekly. Brilliant. Works brilliantly.
Yeah.
Never been paid weekly before. We haven't.
Yeah.
But it works brilliantly for us.
Yeah. Yeah.
We can manage our finances.
Yeah. So every week set amount falls into the account. Yeah. That's your beep beep card. And therefore you can just fully focus on doing it.
And I don't look. Importantly, I don't get involved in the balance coming down every week, because that's what would cause me anxiety.
Yeah.
And probably make me want to go out and get another full-time job, I expect.
Maybe.
But I got to keep telling myself as well that that's my 2 years' money.
Yeah.
So it is there. I just got to be sensible with it.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, that's really good. That's really good. That's kind of answered a lot of the questions I had, and doesn't allow me to lead on to the next one because we've answered it so brilliantly. If you could give advice to somebody, maybe either thinking of yourself 2 years previous or someone that's in a similar situation, would there be any advice you'd give to them around what you've learned? In terms of if you could talk to yourself 2 years ago, would you be able to say anything to them to get you quicker to where you were? Or do you feel that actually sometimes you've got to go through a bit of this pain, trial and testings to get yourself there first?
Yeah, I don't regret anything I've done. I never have regrets. But I guess if I was trying to give someone advice around if they were thinking of doing it, it is a lot different in practice than in theory. And you'll definitely feel that. So I think the only thing I would probably want to have done, and there's a particular reason for it, is I'd want to have tried to have managed on the money we're now managing on.
Yeah, okay.
Not that we're, cutting back on things as such.
Yeah.
But the reason I say that is because it's about a third of what I used to earn.
Wow. Okay.
And I think to myself, how much more I could have saved.
You
accumulate it coming out against it.
Okay.
So I think to myself, how much more we could have saved if we'd worked on that basis back then. So I guess, tongue in cheek, I'm saying maybe try what it would be like. And also maybe do a bit more of the thinking about what life will look like for you. For me, I had given it that thought because I knew I was going to support my kids, spend more time with my mum who's 96. Those are my clear goals. So I'd really thought about it, but I think that's quite important. What I'd missed was I do need a little bit of purpose. I do need to, this is going to sound a bit corny, but I do need to feel important to myself. And whilst I'm important to my family,
incredibly so.
I'd lost a little bit of credibility with myself, I think. So I needed to do something and get something for me, which is why I then set up this consultancy and I'm doing a little bit of work with some housing associations.
So tell me more about that and how it came about and what your plans are with that, because I really want to jump into the me time and family time, because I know that's incredibly important, not just yourself but to us all, because that's the whole purpose of us living. But I am interested, and I'm sure other people will be, around the business consultancy part. Does that tick your box in terms of feeling purposeful? And
so
what's your aims there?
Going back to the job I turned down. I turned it down because of my red lines. And my red lines actually were, it needs to be flexible. I want to go on holiday when I want to go on holiday.
Nice.
I don't want to be tied. I want to be able to drop everything and look after my grandsons when I want to. And if my mum needs me for whatever reason, then I want to be there. So I don't want to be tied. I don't want to have the Sunday night feeling that I had for 35 years. So those were sort of my red lines. It definitely wasn't full time. If anything, it was 1 to 2 days a week. Those were sort of my red lines, if you like. So having gone for this job, turned it down. I guess talking to the consultant guy, Simon, again, we're talking it through, and again, he just facilitated me thinking in my mind, what was I good at? What was I good at and what did I enjoy? Again, the advice I tend to give to other people, what do you like? Do more of what you like. So I've always been interested in customer service. I've always been interested in operational efficiency. Those are the two things that have always sort of floated my boat. Happened to be the last 2 jobs I did. And that's the reason I did them, because I was good at it, and I was good at it because I liked it. I was passionate about it. So I thought, I can probably help other people with that. Part of the support I got from work was access to a website called Dynamic Boards. And they offer non-executive director roles, independent committee member roles. And it just so happened a couple of jobs came up on there. One was for a housing association in southeast London, and it was for their customer services committee. So, boom, right up my street. And I went for it, applied for it, got an interview, got the job. And when I say job, people say, wow, that's fantastic. But actually it's 4 meetings a year for 2 hours.
Okay, that's really okay.
Yeah.
Well done for making people aware about that. Yeah. Okay.
So it's not. So again, well within my
so
red
people
lines.
are hearing jobs, and we automatically put ourselves in those shoes and think 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, or whatever. But,
so it plays on my expertise.
Yeah.
And gives me the opportunity to be flexible because it's literally I've got the dates of the meetings right the way through the year. And I've been along to their board meeting. And do you know what? Actually, it sparked a bit of passion for social justice in me as well, Nate.
Okay, yeah. Really?
In the fact that, principally I believe that everyone's got the right to have a safe, comfortable and affordable home.
Yeah.
That should be a given right in this country.
Yeah.
So I've got a little bit of passion for social housing now, to the extent I've applied for another, and I've got another interview on Friday.
Brilliant. Oh, well, good luck.
So I don't think...
keeping on the same tracks, keeping on the same thread, the stuff you enjoy, do the things you really love and do more of that.
100%.
But within your guidelines, within your red lines. So
and that gives me a little bit of purpose. I've got to do some background reading from time to time.
Yeah. Okay.
But it's good. All helps me, and it gives me a bit more money to spoil the kids or go on holiday or
on to that, because that's what I want to move. I want to get it, because that's all great stuff, and we could talk for hours about all the things you've been doing and the journey you've gone through. But the whole point of this was me time, family time.
Yeah.
Big family person. Talk about mum, children, grandchildren, wife, sisters, etc. So do you just want to give us an insight in terms of what that looks like now? So what that means to you, what that looks like.
Yeah. So again, that probably started, and hopefully you're going to find this out very soon. Being a grandparent, it suddenly focuses your mind on you want to be around for those people. Yeah. Little people, sorry.
I didn't realise how expensive it was going to become as well. The baby hasn't even been born yet, and we're already paying lots out. But anyway, that's maybe another podcast.
But what it made me think about is longevity. And my oldest grandson is 6, Jesse, and before he was born, I wanted to make sure I got myself fit, so lost a bit of weight. Yeah, tried to dedicate time to my fitness, but again, work gets in the way. Travel, always away. Work gets in the way. So that was, again, one of the reasons I wanted to give up, to try and get away from the stress, make myself fitter. So I've been able to do that. That was for me and for the family. Yeah. I guess what I also wanted to do, having missed, not that they would hold it against me, and they don't, some of their childhood, leaving home at 6 and getting home at 7. I want to spend more time with my children and my grandchildren. And I've been able to do that.
It's lovely to see.
So, doing simple things, playing golf with my son next Monday.
Nice.
Going to Cheltenham with my son next Monday.
Brilliant. Okay.
Next Thursday even.
Yeah.
So doing things like that. My
grandchildren, do you have your grandchildren on particular days? Or?
We look after grandchildren on Monday.
Yeah, okay.
But regularly...
Shout out to them, because they could be watching this in years to come watching Grandad talk about them.
Bless them.
Yeah.
Took Alex, my other grandson, who's 2, took him swimming yesterday.
Yeah, okay. Oh, lovely.
So that was great.
Building memories with them.
So it's getting a chance to do things like that, which I wouldn't get a chance to do, as well as all the DIY jobs.
No, sure.
I've got... 2 of my children are teachers. So I've been able to support both of them with their work. My daughter walking her kids to school. In fact, she just asked me today, would I walk them to the bookshop on World Book Day tomorrow?
Oh, really? Okay, wow.
So I might be doing that tomorrow.
Yeah. So we'll see you with your high-vis jacket on type of thing, leading a crowd of kids.
Holding hands.
Yeah.
And my other son, I did a careers day for him.
Okay. Brilliant.
Yeah, so just trying to be there, being more supportive.
Yeah. Okay. And I kind of just wanted to touch on, just briefly, around your role as chairman of North Perrott Cricket Club.
Yeah.
Because that might, again, tick some boxes for doing things for you, but also being purposeful. Just give me an insight in terms of your role there and yeah.
So I've been chairman there since 2019. And again, part of my plan A was originally to do that when I retired.
Yeah, okay.
But situation sort of
materialised
and I ended up doing it sooner. But no great shakes with that. So yeah, I get actively involved. Obviously trying to improve the club.
Yeah. Did it take up much time?
as much
is
time
it
as
like
you...
seasons and stuff?
No,
Like,
it's seasons worse.
Is it really? Okay.
I mean,
okay.
I run the bar for a darts team.
Yeah.
We have at the club. Try and get some revenue because it costs an awful lot of money.
Yeah.
And put some stuff together for sponsorship. We run various events there, weddings.
Yeah.
As well as the cricket.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. Okay.
So it's quite
Multi-purpose
or it can be quite
kind of thing.
full
Yeah.
on. But again, the thing I like about it is it gives me a little bit of purpose.
Yeah.
Gets me out meeting other people.
Yeah.
And doing the bar, you see all walks of life. I've even done a bar for silent discos. That's
Right. Okay. Well,
really,
that's an eye-opener.
really weird.
Yeah, I bet.
So I think the reason I like it is it's varied. It gets me out, it gets me meeting people, and I think, in retirement, that's important.
Yeah. And I suppose, people worry about being purposeful in retirement. What would you say to those people that are worried, maybe kind of find themselves bolted to the floor with fear? Is there any kind of advice or guidance you'd give them? I
think purpose is whatever you want to make it. So if you want to read a book, that's purpose. Yeah. It might not sound
no. I like that. I really like that.
But if your aim when you're planning your retirement is, you always wanted to read this book you've always wanted to read, and on that point, Pete, I still haven't finished that book I started last year, so you can tell reading's not my strength, and it's certainly not my purpose. But I think purpose is whatever you choose it to be.
Yeah, that's
whether
nice.
that's, as I said, doing hobbies, modelling. Model tanks or whatever.
Yeah, be careful. People might think you're a catalogue model or something like
that.
Yeah,
well, I'm definitely not one of those. But I think it's whatever you want to make it.
Yeah.
And actually, it's probably one of my tips for retirement. Be clear about why you're retiring.
Yeah.
So for me, my purpose was family time, me time. That was really my purpose.
Yeah.
I was really clear about that's why I was doing it.
Yeah.
But if you can't see it, then maybe your purpose is to keep working in some way.
Sure. Yeah. Oh, I like that.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But that's what I would say.
That's really good. Really good. I'm going to draw it to an end now, Jullian, because we've covered off an awful lot of ground, and I think it's brilliant with what you've said and what you've shared. And I know there's going to be someone out there most definitely that's going to benefit from hearing your story and journey. And I just want to take this minute to thank you very much for your time.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Pleasure. Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of Retirement, Your Third Act. If you liked what you heard, be sure to subscribe, like, and share it with others who might benefit. Until next time, take care.